Welcome. Reconsider. So the mainstream media. The United States has seen a huge shift of the mainstream media losing influence and credibility. This was evidently revealed towards the end of 2016 with the election of Donald Trump. Despite the prevailing message from print and television media, the public seemed to vote against the influence of the mainstream. Now in the UK, a similar situation has occurred with one of the most dramatic political upsets of modern times. This is all down to the national election that happened Thursday the 8th of June 2018. We can pinpoint many parallels within the recent narrative of both US and UK media establishment. We could view this as a hugely positive sea change, with people starting to awaken to the ideas that the media ultimately dictates opinion and represents wealthy and darker deep state interests. The United Kingdom, as most of you know, was headed towards complex negotiations with the European Union to leave the Union. Brexit. The current Prime Minister, Theresa May, announced a last-minute snap general election on the 19th of May 2018. Her calculation was that the majority of the media was behind her and largely hostile to opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn of the Labour Party. Polls also indicated that the Prime Minister's party, the Conservatives, would increase their majority government, therefore giving them a stronger hand domestically with up-and-coming Brexit negotiations. But last Friday, as the nation awoke to the election results, they were confronted with a very different political landscape. It was unexpected. The media, the political establishment, had it severely miscalculated. The much maligned opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn had managed to break the Conservatives' majority and exceeded all expectations of the government, media, and members of his own party. Conservatives had 318 seats and Labour had 262. For a majority government, they needed 326 seats. This has made the current UK government very unstable. To stabilise and create a majority, they've had to share power with the DUP, a very right-wing Northern Irish political party. So how has this all happened? Jeremy Corbyn was controversially elected to be head of the Labour Party on the 12th of September 2015. He was considered a fringe candidate and not expected to win, but because of his socialist message of equality, there was a huge surge in support. Membership of the Labour Party swelled. The media from the start was incredibly hostile, which continued to be a destabilising force in the Labour Party. Numerous occasions his own party tried to oust him, but the membership surge had given him a very solid base and mandate to continue being leader. Against all odds, he continued to lead. After 7 years of austerity from the Conservative government, with the largest transfer of public assets into private hands, stagnant wages, decreasing levels of job security, underfunded healthcare, schools and other public services, his message of equality at all levels of society, paying their fair share of taxation and ending austerity proved very popular. His ideals resurrected the old Labour Party's ideology from 30 to 40 years ago. The UK media is predominantly owned by wealthy billionaires and large corporations. The largest newspaper, The Sun, is owned by News Corp, part of Rupert Murdoch's empire. Murdoch has always had a very influential hand in UK politics. His influence is so great, many of his modern-day UK elections were purely won due to The Sun's newspaper's backing. The Labour Party only previously won elections due to the close relationship of Rupert Murdoch with Tony Blair. Jeremy Corbyn's new political message was a huge shift to the left. The collective media landscape immediately attacked his policies as extreme and unrealistic. It seemed any politician preaching wealth equality and renationalisation of public services is demonised. It goes up against the free market agenda and existing structures of wealth and power. Corbyn was also asking questions about banking, the financial system, foreign policy, terrorism funding, nuclear weapons and the arms trade, going straight to the heart of the deep state power and money paradigm. So is it any wonder he was attacked so vehemently? No leader of a mainstream political party has ever spoken out like this before. The deep state and its interests were threatened and the attacks were constant. The London School of Economics report found that there was a 75% media bias against Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party. A Norwegian academic who also worked for the London School of Economics claimed that in Norway, Corbyn's policies would be considered mainstream and standard to the Nordic political bedrock. Again, Corbyn was preaching free university education, reversal of continuing privatisation of the NHS, nationalising railways and energy companies, reinvesting in infrastructure, investing in renewable energy. So election day happened, and the shock result of the Conservative loss of their majority and the huge surge of Labour Party support has had the establishment scratching their heads. The front line of managing a country's political ideology is via the mainstream media. People in greater numbers are potentially becoming disillusioned with the media and the narrative they are being fed. The question is, have people started to think for themselves and realise that the mainstream media sees disinformation and propaganda towards any policy that promotes equality and peace? If we look at a newspaper circulation as an example, the Sun newspaper monthly average circulation dropped from 3 million in 2010 to 1.6 million in 2017. This is the same trend for the second most popular newspaper, the Daily Mail, dropping from 2.1 million in 2010 to 1.5 million in 2017. Credence can also be given to the surge in the youth vote. A huge effort was coordinated towards social media. The message used was positive, sincere, and used humour effectively. Corbyn largely avoided newspaper interviews. They concentrated efforts campaigning on television and out on the ground in towns and city centres to large crowds of people. Ultimately, Labour and Corbyn lost the election, but Theresa May's government has been severely weakened. There is talk that May's government may only last a few months. Potentially, it could give Labour the opportunity to form a progressive alliance with other parties. I was listening to David Icke on the Richie Allen show on Friday, and he made some very good points. He mentioned there appears to be a rare situation for Corbyn to say the unsayable, speak the unthinkable, talk about the criminal activity of banks, creating money from thin air and charging everyone interest, talk about foreign policy, foreign wars, linked terrorism, talk about the arms trade, talk about why so many people are ill from our toxic environment, corrupt farmer, why are there other ways of healing that are being suppressed? Talk about why so many people are unhappy, stressed and isolated. This gives us tremendous opportunity to change. Okay, so that about wraps up my comments to do with the UK general election. Thank you very much for being with me, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.